Well, happy Monday morning, everybody. Your man Omid here with you on a very, very exciting week coming up. This is what we've been waiting for a very, very long time. And we're talking about the one and only Federal Reserve meeting to talk about how much they're going to reduce the Fed funds rate. We're going to jump into it, but let me cover what's going on in the market in anticipation of that super quick. Okay, so as you can see, this was last week's market. As you can see, we are doing kind of sort of the same dance, right? We're trapped between this 101.18 and 101.83, not really necessarily moving around a whole lot and waiting to figure out what happens here on Wednesday. Rates lower than last week, great. So 30-year fixed sitting right around that low sixes for highly qualified individuals. The one thing that we'll talk about is really how the Fed funds rate changes affect bond market and affect mortgage rates in a moment. So what's on the books for this week? Obviously, everything else is going to take a second seat to the Fed decision on a Wednesday. So everything is on eggshells until then. Retail sales is going to show us how much money we're spending nilly-willy out there on credit card, which I'm scared to look at. 20-year bond auction is going to show us, what kind of appetite the traders have ahead of the decision, which I don't think is going to be a lot, but we'll see. And jobless claims on Thursday always is interesting to see. Now, both the PPI and the CPI, Producers Price Index, Consumer Price Index, came in 0.1% hotter on a month over month than anticipated. So it isn't like inflation is taking a nosedive, but it is the right time for them to do this. So if you find this stuff useful, do me a favor, like and subscribe our YouTube channel, and then jump on Instagram and go and find me under Omid S. We post daily updates on Instagram as well. Thanks. Now, the Federal Reserve will meet on Tuesday and give us a statement about what they're going to do on Wednesday. Okay. Their whole thing at this point is that they're choosing between a quarter point or a half a point. So a small and a big. Now, there is a mole that reports for Wall Street Wall Street Journal, and he is telling us now that they may be going towards the half a point. I personally don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is this. I think that small cuts will give the Federal Reserve more time to study its effects, but a larger cut could prevent the economy from slowing down too much. And here's the thing. Like I said before, inflation is going down, but if they end up cutting rates too fast, what's going to happen? It's going to be a woohoo party zone out there. People are going to go out, spend money again based on the fact that money is going to get cheap. And you guessed it, inflation is going to go back up again. So really, at the end of the day, this is a very, very delicate dance that they're doing. They're late to the game. I also think that they're not going to do a half a point because they're supposed to be apolitical. And now, right before the election, under this regime, they're not going to go out and cut half. I don't think so, but we'll wait and see if I was right or not. Okay. Now, super important here. Let's talk about this. I've said it in the past. I've said it again. The Fed funds rate is the rate that banks use to borrow monies from one another on an overnight basis in order to maintain their reserve requirements set forth by the Fed. Okay. Banks being banks, greedy little buggers, they don't maintain those minimums, and then they borrow the money from one another on an overnight basis to show the Fed that they have reserves. That is called the Fed funds rate, okay? And the cheaper that rate is, the more likely those banks are to lend money to one another on an overnight basis and lend all their money out. And that does one thing and one thing only, is that it stimulates the economy, okay? The Fed funds rate is not a short-term, long-term rate. It has nothing to do specifically, directly, apples to mortgages. So there's lots of our buyers out there, I'm going to wait until this thing before I refinance or before I purchase. It doesn't work like that, because here's the thing. Look, it's already built in. Look at all this anticipation, right? This is all built in. Mortgages have already built these in. Why do you think the rates are sitting in the low sixes? High fives, low sixes, depending on how you qualify, right? So if you are a buyer, if you are a refinance candidate, probably sooner than later is better. And I will tell you this. Historically, when this man gets up there in the past, or his predecessors, and they reduce the Fed funds rate, the bond market responds adversely, and rates actually tick up before they go back down again. So be ready for these things. It's not the end of the world. It'll give you a little hiccup, and it'll most likely come back down. As always, if you want to dig into these things any deeper, pick up the phone and call me. I'm happy to help you and happy to strategize with you so you can make the most out of what's about to happen to us. Okay? Good luck this week, and I'll be in touch. Do follow us on Instagram because that's where all the weekly and quick little story updates, 30 seconds at a time, are going to be posted. Cheers. Oh, don't forget, subscribe, like, and do all that business too. Thanks.